To all of you who are out there in relationships with a partner that's showing narcissistic traits, this video is for you. We're going to talk about why daydreams and nostalgia happen and how they can reveal cracks in a relationship. In Harry's case, his longing for Chelsy Davy isn't just about the past, it's about what's missing in the present. And Meghan's reaction, as reported, shows us how narcissistic traits turn normal insecurity into rage and control. By the end of this video, you'll not only see their story more clearly, but you'll also have red flags and self-care tools to spot these dynamics in your own life. So let's get into it, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. The article I want to talk about today was published in Radar Online and is titled Exclusive: Prince Harry Still Pining for the One That Got Away, and How Meghan Was Left Raging by Gushing Tribute to His Ex in Memoir Spare. Now, just to be clear here, feeling a little jealous or threatened if your partner is gushing about an ex is completely normal. We've all felt it. It doesn't automatically make you a narcissist. This is actually a really complex issue, and I'm trying to simplify it in order to explain some of Harry's daydreaming and nostalgia, and also Meghan's extreme reactions. In healthy relationships, jealousy might show up as hurt feelings or insecurity, but it usually gets worked out through reassurance and communication. In narcissistic dynamics, though, it's different. The reaction isn't just, ouch, that stung. It escalates into rage, catastrophizing, and the need to reassert control. And that's the key difference. So if you've ever felt jealous, please don't hear this and think, oh no, I must be a narc. Not at all. What we're talking about is when those feelings are taken to the extreme, when they're weaponized, and they're turned into manipulation. The article begins and it says, Prince Harry is haunted by memories of his former girlfriend, Chelsy Davy, the woman he once described as unlike anyone else he had dated. With insiders telling RadarOnline.com his wife Meghan Markle was left enraged by the way he wrote about her in his memoir Spare. Harry, now 40 and Chelsy, now 39, made in 2004 during his gap year in Zimbabwe and embarked on a turbulent on and off relationship that lasted 7 years. So right away we see that the article is saying he's haunted by memories. Haunted. That's not neutral. That's a very dramatic painting of his past. And then calling Chelsy the woman he once described as anyone else, you can see what this does. It puts Chelsy above Meghan. There's an instant comparison that's happening here. And of course, any wife might feel a sting reading her husband gush about an ex. That's normal, but rage is different. It's narcissistic injury. It's humiliation, comparison distress, and the whole I need to control the narrative thing. So now we've got this triangle: Harry, Chelsy, and Meghan. It's not just nostalgia, it's insecurity and control all colliding. The article continues and says, Harry sees ex Chelsy as the one who got away. Davy, the daughter of a wealthy businessman, accompanied Harry on family holidays and was at his side for the Princess Diana Memorial Concert in 2007. Their romance finally ended in 2010, with Davy struggling under the relentless glare of press scrutiny. What we see here is one of the biggest differences between Chelsy and Meghan. Chelsy didn't want the spotlight and Meghan chased it. And the thing about Meghan is that even though she's chasing it, she reacts to it like every single negative headline is an attack. And what I think has happened is that this has rubbed off on Harry. I think Harry was already sensitive to what is being said about him, but seeing a partner who is consistently, probably on a daily basis, probably multiple times a day, feeling offended and angry and upset at what's being written about, that to me is a downward spiral. This is what happens when you're around a narcissist. Their anxiety becomes your anxiety, and you end up reacting a lot of the times in the same way that they did or that they do. It really is like creating this echo chamber where the only voices and the only perspective that you're seeing is the narcissistic partners. And if the narcissistic partner is extremely sensitive to what is written about them in public, then that voice is amplified in this echo chamber. The article continues, it says, in Spare, he couldn't resist writing about her in glowing terms. Meghan found it humiliating. To her, it felt like a slap in the face that he would gush over an ex in such a public way. And Harry now looks at Chelsy as the one who got away, as his life and marriage is a mess out in America, with him desperate to be welcomed back into the folds of the royal family. I think there's multiple things happening here. I think the first is that Meghan has to be the center of her partner's life. And it actually mentions that later on in this article. And we've also seen it mentioned multiple times. And this is just a dynamic scene in these narc type relationships. They have to be so much in the center that I personally have experienced that they don't want to hear about the past before they met their spouse. They don't want to know that there was any existence of them, of their partner having a past. So I'll give an example. One of the biggest ones I can think of with Harry and Meghan specifically was during the Fab Four interview. And this was in February of 2018. So it was a couple months before Harry and Meghan got married. And Catherine was asked a question about the Heads Together program. And Catherine, I'm paraphrasing here, said something along the lines of the three of us. And when she was referring to the three of us, she meant William, Harry, and herself. And the anger on Meghan's face, the upset that she felt was palpable. I actually made a TikTok about that, and I'm going to put that right here so you can see it.
But it was something that I think all three of us at the time felt that we really could make a far bigger impact together on, rather than just one of us acting alone on it.
Wow, watch Meghan's face change. Let's break down this moment from the Fab Four interview in 2018, just 3 months before Harry and Meghan's wedding. Catherine says all three of us at the time, referring to herself, Harry, and William. And right here, Meghan's face completely shifts. That's not just a blank stare. That's envy, and here's why this moment matters. For malignant narcissists, any reminder that their partner had deep bonds before them with family, friends, or even co-workers feels like a threat. It hits 3 core fears: being excluded. Catherine's words subtly remind Meghan she's not part of their shared history. Loss of control. Meghan can't rewrite Harry's past or erase his closeness with William and Catherine. And number 3, competition for significance. Narcissists want to be their partner's everything, and any sign they're not is triggering. Okay, going back to this article, we see here that Harry is, it seems to me, he's romanticizing a simpler time. And calling Chelsy the one who got away, that is screaming regret. So on one hand, you can understand why Meghan would be upset about this. On the other hand, what stands out to me is that it's saying Meghan found it humiliating. And humiliating implies that you're worried about what it looks like to other people. It's not that you're hurt that maybe your spouse had a better time with someone else, that they had better memories, that they were just happier then. It's not that. It's that you're worried that other people are going to know about this, that you're going to be humiliated in front of other people. And this is the difference here, or at least part of the difference. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. The article continues, it says, Harry admits loving Chelsy's carefree, uncomplicated spirit. In his autobiography, Harry admitted, I loved Chelsy's ease, that she wasn't complicated. She didn't care what anyone thought. She wore miniskirts and high-heeled boots and danced however she wanted, drank tequila like me, and all of this made me really happy. Harry's words here are important because it seems like with Chelsy, he has ease, or he had ease, being carefree and being yourself and not really concerned with what other people were thinking, versus Meghan, who we've seen that she is hypervigilant. And Harry, as a result of this echo chamber, I think that's happened between the two of them, he's become hypervigilant as well. So I think when he's looking back at this experience he had with Chelsy, it may not even be simply about her. It's about missing that lighter version of life where he was carefree, where he drank tequila with her, and all of that made him really happy. The article continues and says Meghan furious over Harry's Chelsea praise. Another insider explained Chelsea couldn't stand the press circus that came with Harry. She valued her freedom and privacy. Harry respected that, but deep down, he always thought she might come back. Meghan knows this history and it eats at her. We're seeing this contrast again between Chelsea and Meghan. Chelsea valued privacy, but we've seen from Meghan's actions that she thrives on attention. And again, yes, most women would feel a little off if their husband had this idealized version of their ex. But for a narcissist, this is unbearable. They don't tolerate comparison. They need admiration 24/7. So if Harry still carries this soft spot for Chelsea, it is eating at Meghan. The article continues, in contrast, Markle's reaction to Harry's passages about the blonde and spare was said to be one of fury. Let's pause here. I am so annoyed that they called Chelsea the blonde. They reduced her to her hair color, and that really, really bothers me. I mean, we're not calling Markle the brunette. We're not calling Harry the redhead. Insert your jokes. I know you have many jokes about this in the comments. I just think it's incredibly, it just doesn't sit well with me. Let's continue. The article says she raged that it undermined her role as his wife, a source claimed. She wants to be the center of his story, not a footnote to Chelsea. But Harry has this nostalgic streak and Chelsea is the one who got away. Let's look at that last sentence in the first paragraph. She raged that it undermined her role as his wife. She raged. That's uncontrollable anger. And she's also catastrophizing because it's not just that Harry is looking back fondly on memories. It's that action undermines Meghan. And this is the same thing we talked about the day before yesterday. In yesterday's video, we were talking about how Harry was asked at the Well Child Awards 2025 what his Netflix shows are that he's watching right now, and he didn't mention With Love Meghan. And that I'll leave the link to that video in the description of this video. But her reaction to that, I think, was exaggerated compared to what the offense was. I think Meghan called it unforgivable. Of all the things that someone can do to someone else, this is what she's calling unforgivable towards Harry. There's very little grace here for Harry's mistakes, and I think this is the pattern that we're seeing again here. And this is what it is. With narcissists, nothing is neutral. Every little thing either proves their status or threatens it. And when it feels like the latter, boom, there's rage. She doesn't just, and then it continues and says that she has to be the center of his story. And anything less than that feels like humiliation. The problem here, though, is that goalposts are constantly changing. So yesterday, what made Meghan feel like the center of the relationship may not be the same thing as today. So there's this constant walking on eggshells, making sure that the partner you're guessing and anticipating what is going to make the partner feel like they're at the center. And that's the bigger pattern here that I want to get to. I would definitely have hurt feelings if I heard about this from a partner, that they were romanticizing about what it was like with their ex. I don't think I would rage about it, though. I think I would want to have a conversation about it. I'd want to know, what is it specifically that you felt then that you don't feel now? Are there ways to bring those feelings and emotions, or maybe there were activities that you were doing at the time that made you feel like you were so happy? Can we bring those back into our relationship? Can we create new memories that complement the ones that brought you happiness in your past? But from what we're reading here, I don't think that's what we're seeing from Meghan. And this is how the article ends. It says, Harry is happiest with Meghan and the children, but the truth is he still pines for the simplicity he had with Chelsea, the source added. That's a wound Meghan finds hard to forgive. Okay, a couple of things here. First of all, here we see again, hard to forgive. It's essentially almost saying that is unforgivable. It's a small offense, and it seems more like, when you read this last paragraph, it's not that he It may be that he's not really pining for Chelsea herself, but the simplicity he had with Chelsea. And this is what I was getting to just a couple of minutes ago, that if I was in this situation, I would ask my partner, well, what was it that you felt and you experienced emotionally at that time? What was simpler then that is more difficult now? And can we recreate that for you? And of course, in a reasonable way that would respect my personal boundaries as well, right? Like, we're not talking about people pleasing here and bending to the will of the partner so that they would get everything that they wanted and live this simple life or this idealized life they had from before. And again, when something is in the past, you kind of what's the phrase that they use? You almost exaggerate how wonderful it was back then. So looking back on something may not be the most accurate version of what it was, but it's a jumping off point on where to begin if you feel there are complex issues in a relationship. So let's close out this video with a couple of red flags so that you can see if you can spot this in your own life. The first one is a partner who catastrophizes small issues and turns them into proof that you've betrayed them. The second is someone who has to be the center of your story. They can't tolerate you having nostalgia, friendships, or connections outside of them. There's hypervigilance to criticism. Every comment, every look, every word is twisted into an attack. And finally, there's comparison distress. They constantly compete with others in your past or your present instead of focusing on the relationship that is right there in front of them. And if you're dealing with this dynamic, here are 2 self-care steps you can take right now. The first is reality check yourself. Ask, is this issue as big as my partner is making it, or is it being blown out of proportion? And secondly, protect your peace. You don't have to argue every accusation. Sometimes the healthiest response is to set a boundary and not feed the chaos. Remember that healthy love doesn't demand that you erase your past. It makes space for all of who you are. And if your partner can't handle that, it's not about love and it's about control. I'm curious to know what you all think about this. If you feel comfortable sharing your life experiences, please drop them in your comments, and I look forward to reading as many of them as I can. I like to say that I read quite a lot of your comments, and I do my best to respond as many as I can. I do apologize if I miss them, but just know that I'm doing my best to catch up and to read as many of them as I can. I also want to say I'm at 48,000 something subscribers now. Help me get to 50K. If you think that there's someone that would enjoy this video, that would enjoy this content, please share it with them. I'm just so grateful for all of you, and I would be grateful for that so much. And as always, I am so grateful for you, and I'm so thankful that you're here. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.